interestingly, because when I was with him at the press conference announcing the fight, he looked about 245. When I was with him before that in Los Angeles, and there is Ali giving Evangelista the stare, instructions which couldn't be clearly heard from the referee, who is Harry Cicchini. The judges are Terry Moore, Ray Klingmeyer, again scoring down here in the 5-point must system. We're about ready to go. 8-ounce gloves, 22-foot ring. I was saying that Ali down incredibly to 221 and a quarter. Nevertheless, as I pointed out in my earlier interview with him, carries a flesh roll about the middle. Evangelista stunts. He's in the green. The dog go down to his knees almost. Now let's see what, if anything, he can do. Ali on his toes. Quick. Enchanting the crowd with the double shuffle.
One whispered conversation led to another.
Hanson, hands at his sides.
On the eve of the most important fight of his career.
That's because of the nature of the opponent. He's got a sense of humor and is apparently not necessarily odd. First round action, if you want to call it. Ali dancing. The crowd enjoys that, as Ali, who picked off an attempted blow by Evangelista, pretended to stack, to be stunned by the blow. Now Ali is just covering up, as you can see. Ali scores with a left jab. He hasn't thrown really but one combination. He has not been punching hard. And you hear the crowd in unison chanting, Ali, Ali. Narrowing down the count in the second round. Oh, quick combination. There we go again with the rope-a-dope and the cover-up. The tactic employed so effectively against George Funk. When Ali, fighting to regain the championship, revealed once again that perhaps his greatest trait. You can hear the fans, and they're right. We'll be back in just a moment. Connected. Cover up. Actually, a mild right uppercut got in from Evangelista. September of '66, when Ali had trouble with Mildenberger, the German southpaw. And Mildenberger felt so proud. I suspect Evangelista is beginning to feel proud too. And Mildenberger was a difficult fighter. He was a southpaw. Southpaws give Ali trouble. And he was very game. There's a good left that snatched Evangelista's head back. Evangelista throwing leather but not getting through. I want to advise our stations that we'll have a station break at the end of this round. Wild, amateurish left. You remember the glorious fighting machine that Muhammad Ali once was. You see this. Maybe the Thriller in Manila was the greatest fight I ever saw. Frazier, apparently in command after the 10th round. Look the way he misses now, even against an opponent like this. See that? Those aren't clean, they're not sharp. This is the 8th round. What Ali is proving in this bout is that it's a long, long time from September to May. As May comes, the days grow longer. When you see those wild amateurish lefts and evangelistas that you can determine the quality of Ali's opponents. And we have no intent to denigrate the young man. We're coming to the end of the ninth round. They'll be back in just a moment. Not combinations. We're approaching the end of the 10th round.
What I knew was planning would shock the boxing. To know the secret between a legendary boxer and a September 29th, 1960.
The whole thing has become a Spanish silent movie. Why he came out of retirement is his personal business. It's conjectured that in spite of all the monies he has made because of the settlement of his matrimonial difficulties, Ali needs more money. But the way this thing has gone, he landed a good right there and he hurt Evangelista. Evangelista was hurt, but the kid has courage. From the beginning he was unafraid. It was as if he sensed that he wasn't facing the Muhammad Ali of the past.
Something unexpected.
How do you think they're scoring this, you folks at home? What do you think, Chris?
Well, I have Evangelista winning 3 rounds, 7, 8, and 12.
I think you're probably right. They called Louis Firpo the wild bull of the Pampas. The only difference was Louis was good enough to knock Dempsey out of the ring at the old Polo Grounds back in 1924. Look at that, Evangelista scored there. Give Evangelista all the credit in the world. He's been a pursuing fighter. He was unafraid coming in. What I've tried to point out is that he is not a quality fighter. Wonder how he's going to try to explain this away. The way a fighter scored in recent months and years.
Pretty good job by Ali that night.
Right. Sticking with the left. Sticking with the left. One punch at a time. Lefts got in. 3 of them separately. A fourth. A fifth. The right keeps missing. A good combination there by Ali. A combination for a change. A 1-2. Ali, as you can see visibly, although he now dances on his toes, he drooped in that corner for just a moment to catch a breath. Left scores. Well, the crowd roars as Evangelista. He missed one, landed one. We're counting down to the end of this inglorious affair. Count is over. Evangelista has gone the distance against Muhammad Ali as the fans boo him to distraction.
There are some promises that matter.
Now, the decision.
Here is the decision. Judge Terry Moore has it 72-64, Ali.
72-64, Terry Moore. Ali.
Wingmeyer has it 72-64, Ali. Cicchini has it 71-65, Ali. Winner, unanimous decision, still heavyweight champion of the world, Muhammad Ali.
His 56th professional fight.
Not with his
The right connected. Cover up. Actually, a mild right uppercut got in from Evangelist September of '66 when Ali had trouble with Mildenberger, the German southpaw. And Mildenberger felt so proud. I suspect Evangelista is beginning to feel proud too. And Mildenberger was a difficult fighter. He was a southpaw. Southpaws give Ali trouble, and he was very game. There's a good left that snaps Evangelista's head. Evangelista throwing leather but not getting through. I want to advise our stations that we'll have a station break at the end of this round. Wild, amateurish left. You remember the glorious fighting machine that Muhammad Ali once was.
Let him go, get off.
You see this. Maybe the Thriller in Manila was the greatest fight I ever saw. Frazier, apparently in command after the 10th round. Look the way he misses now, even against an opponent like this. See that? Blows on clean, they're not sharp. This is the 8th round. A good left. Evangelista scored with a good left, and he stunned Muhammad Ali, who covers up. Really got in a good left.
By December 1977, they used the word remission for the first time. January 15, 1978. Ali's following
What Ali is proving in this bout is that it's a long, long time from September to May. As May comes,
doctors say
the days grow longer.
Does this mean
When you see those wild, amateurish lefts of evangelistas, that you can determine the quality of Ali's opponent. And we have no intent to denigrate the young man. Believe me, we're coming to the end of the 9th round. We'll be back in just a moment. Not combinations.
this is the real champion?
We're approaching the end of the 10th round.
This is the warrior who took in Japan told that story. The promise, the unexpected recovery, and the bond that unfolded between them. By the end, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. Ali's return fight was scheduled for April 1978 against Ken Moore, his old nemesis. The build-up was unlike anything.
The whole thing has become a Spanish silent movie.
It wasn't just Ali's combat.
Why he came out of retirement is his personal business. It's conjectured that in spite of all the monies he has made because of the settlement of his matrimonial difficulties, Ali needs more money. But the way this thing has gone, he landed a good right there and he hurt Evangelista. Evangelista was hurt, but the kid has courage. From the beginning, he was unafraid. It was as if he sensed that he wasn't facing the Muhammad Ali of the past. How do you think they're scoring this, you folks at home? What do you think, Chris?
Well, I have Evangelista winning 3 rounds, 7, 8, and 12.
I think you're probably right. They call Louis Firpo the wild bull of the Pampas. The only difference was Louis was good enough to knock Dempsey out of the ring at the old Polo Grounds back in 1924. Look at that, Evangelista scored there.
Because sometimes strength means recognizing what truly
Give Evangelista all the credit in the world.
greatest victories
He's been a pursuing fighter. He was unafraid coming in.
He did become a doctor. Today, he owns one of Africa's
What I've tried to point out is that he is not a quality fighter.
legendary boxer hiding beside a small boy. Beneath it, a simple inscription.
One now he's going to try to explain this away. The way a fighter scored in the recent months and years.
Pretty good job by Ali that night.
Right. Sticking with the left. Sticking with the left. One punch at a time. Left's got in. 3 of them.